Fox News. Breaking news.
What if I told you that your tax dollars, hundreds of millions of them, were shipped to Ukraine, then quietly funneled right back into a Democrat campaign slush fund? Well, now we have intercepted communications to prove it. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard just declassified NSA intercepts that caught Ukrainian officials red-handed discussing how to launder American aid money back to Joe Biden's 2024 campaign. This is not speculation. This is our own intelligence agencies catching them in the act. And what you're about to hear next will make you furious. I mean, think about this for a moment. Every single dollar that went to Ukraine came out of your paycheck. While you're struggling to pay for groceries, fill up your gas tank, and keep a roof over your family's head, your government was shipping your money overseas only to have it secretly routed back to keep the very politicians in power who are destroying this country. $200 million. That's money that could have secured our border. That's money that could have helped veterans sleeping on the streets. Instead, it allegedly went straight into the DNC war chest to defeat Donald Trump. And here's the kicker. This wasn't some rogue operation. According to the intercepts, this was coordinated between Zelensky's government and federal workers inside USAID. American bureaucrats allegedly conspired with a foreign government to influence our election. If that's not election interference, I don't know what is. Oh, it gets worse, though, because this isn't the first time USAID has been weaponized against President Trump. Now, listen carefully, because when I see corruption this deep and this brazen, it reminds me why being prepared isn't smart. It's absolutely essential. Think about it. If a major disruption happened tomorrow and you couldn't get to the store, how long would you actually last with what's in your house right now? If it's anything less than a month, you need to check out our friends at My Patriot Supply. They're America's #1 preparedness company with over 3 million satisfied customers who understand self-reliance is the ultimate freedom. When you can't trust your government to look out for you, when they're too busy shipping your money overseas, you need to be able to take care of your own family. And right now, when you go to preparewithgary.com, their best-selling 4-week emergency food supply comes with an additional week of food absolutely free. That's 5 weeks of peace of mind. Don't wait for the next crisis to catch you off guard. Head to preparewithgary.com right now, because the best time to prepare was yesterday, and the second best time is today. Now here's where the story takes an even darker turn. It's not just about money laundering into the Biden campaign. Explosive new reporting from investigative journalist Michael Schellenberger reveals that USAID was also behind an organization that manufactured fake evidence used to impeach President Trump. That's right. The same agency allegedly funneling money to Democrats was also funding the very groups that tried to remove a sitting president with fabricated Russiagate evidence. We're looking at a coordinated deep state operation. Now check this out. $200 million in U.S. taxpayer money funneled through USAID from Ukraine was laundered straight back to crooked Biden's re-election slush fund. Ukraine and China both under the microscope in explosive investigations. Check this out from John Solomon.
The United States government, the National Security Agency, intercepted conversations of President Zelensky's government in Ukraine in 2022, late 2022, conspiring with federal workers at the USAID to come up with a plan to take $200 million of USAID money. That is your money, folks, taxpayer money, route it through a series of transactions, move it into the United States, and launder it into Joe Biden's 2024 campaign and the Democratic National Committee. We have the intercepts for the first time. Tulsi Gabbard's team was willing to declassify them. There is now an investigation underway, beginning with USAID, to look at who was involved, whether any crimes were committed, and if that is the case, to refer that to the FBI in the next few days. Those declassified documents up at justthenews.com. You can go check about it today. Members of Congress have been clamoring all day to get their hands on the documents. I expect Tulsi Gabbard to make a statement later tonight on where things are evolving in her investigation. But we've gone from the era of weaponization, where the primary tool was using prosecutors and FBI agents to disable Donald Trump and his followers and all the good people around him, to now potentially conspiring with foreign powers to have an impact on our elections. We had the Ukraine stuff this morning, and remember what we told you 3 weeks ago. Proof from the FBI that China sent thousands, tens of thousands of driver's licenses to the United States with fake names to get fake ballots to vote for Joe Biden in the 2020 election. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the FBI informant in the FBI documents that we made public a few months ago. So China possibly conspiring with Joe Biden and the Democrats, and now possibly Ukraine. 2 investigations underway. We're going to keep you apprised of that right now.
My God. This rabbit hole goes deep, folks. Another investigation that will go nowhere, says Sherry. Declassified U.S. intelligence intercepts reveal Ukrainian officials openly discussing how to divert hundreds of millions. Here we have John Solomon talking with real Donald Trump Jr. about this.
You broke this incredible story about NSA intercepts showing Ukrainian officials basically discussing a plot to funnel back millions in American aid money back to the Biden 2024 campaign through, none other than USAID. I mean, really, I guess it shouldn't surprise us anymore, but it should shock us. Can you walk us through it and, what else we need to know?
Yeah, let's give everybody a little quick history lesson because the context of this is important. Yeah. In 2016, we know that the Ukrainian embassy in the United States was advocating for Hillary Clinton's campaign. The ambassador here even wrote an op-ed doing so. Yeah. In the period before that, they were enriching the Ukrainian gas company, Burisma, was enriching Joe Biden's son, Hunter. So Ukrainians generally have had a leftward lurch in their support in the American political system, sometimes very overtly, like putting Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma, or their ambassador writing an op-ed saying they would prefer Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump in 2016. Then we get through the whole impeachment scandal. We're told, don't believe any of that Ukrainian liberal preference. Turns out it was all true. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. Hunter Biden and the Democratic Party were deeply entangled with the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian businesses. And we lived through that. Joe Biden's in the White House. And in 2022 and early 23, his fundraising is lagging, even though he's the incumbent. He's got the problems with the Afghanistan withdrawal, questions about his mental acuity, enormous unpopularity, particularly when it comes to an open border. And so it's at that moment when NSA guys with headphones on are listening, and they intercept a series of conversations. Some of these are probably on email. And it's a senior government official in the Ukrainian government of President Zelensky talking about a plot that has been discussed with USAID workers, our foreign aid agency workers in Kiev, to give a $200-300 million clean energy grant to Ukraine. Now, Ukraine's in the middle of a war with Russia. The last thing they're going to be building is some clean energy project. They're trying to...
They're not building solar panels when you're getting bombed every day. It's probably not great use of a panel.
A complete ruse. And they even say so. Listen, the intercept suggests that this is not going to be a justified project, but you'll spend the money, and then by the time they discover it, it won't be recoverable. And the goal is take that money, then you're going to give it to non-governmental organizations, nonprofits. Then they're going to hire subcontractors with the USAID money. And then those subcontractors are going to hire Americans. And those American companies are then going to move the money into the coffers of Joe Biden's 2024 campaign and the Democratic National Committee. And they said they hope to arrange this in such a way that 90% of the money that originally came from you and I, taxpayers, through USAID to Ukraine would ultimately be laundered into the DNC and Joe Biden to help his 2024 campaign. That's what's been captured. Now, that was only recently discovered. That intercept or series of intercepts were not ever brought to the attention of anyone at the FBI or anyone during the Biden years. Tulsi Gabbard just recently found it. She's asked USAID to go look and see if they can find the contract. Did it happen? Was there some fraud involved? And so there's a beginning of an investigation to find out whether what was discussed ultimately transpired. And we should know answers in a couple of weeks.
I mean, do we trust?
Do we trust to get the job done? Are we going to actually see perp walks out of this? USAID money was funneled to an organization that created fake Ukraine and Russiagate evidence against Trump. This is new reporting from News Nation and Fredo Cuomo, apparently, with Michael Schellenberger.
New reporting reveals that USAID and a CIA analyst were behind a project that later led to one of Trump's impeachments. Independent journalist Michael Schellenberger joins us to try to convince me that I should believe this. Shelley, always a pleasure. Good to see you, Mike.
Great to see you, Chris.
So, sell me on it. How much do you believe this?
Well, look, here's what we know. We know that USAID effectively created this organization called the Organized Crime and Corruption Research Project, Reporting Project, OCCRP, which nobody's heard of, but it teams up with well-known news media companies around the world. We know that it would not exist had it not rerouted a State Department grant from its narcotics enforcement division through USAID, and that USAID can sign off on all of the senior, has a requirement to sign off on all the senior staff and on the work plan. We also know that it did the foundational research that was essential to bringing the impeachment case against Trump in December of 2019. It was what the CIA whistleblower relied upon in his initial complaint in December in December of 2019. So those are the facts of it.
Wait,
when you piece it together and you
explain that part, Michael. Explain what they funded and how it's connected to what the CIA agent and who that was, what we know, because I thought it was the original guy was the British guy that was hired by the Oppo research place that Clinton had been working with, and he was collecting it from his sources. What are you believing now?
Yeah, I mean, this is the case of you remember, this is where Trump talks about the perfect phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky.
So this is his second impeachment.
Impeachment, yeah, of 2019. So this is basically a situation where the CIA person in the White House who had been left over by Obama writes a complaint describing alleged violation of the law. This was then picked up and the House impeached Trump. The Senate, of course, declined to hear it. But I think what's so interesting here is that this is an organization that's behind it, that's funded by USAID, that would not exist without USAID, engaging in what I think you have to consider to be domestic politics, which is absolutely forbidden. You have to remember that our intelligence agencies, our foreign policy establishment, of which USAID is a big part, it's not really an economic development agency. I think people misunderstand that part. It's really about soft power. It's about establishing the power of the United States in like an aggressive way, including in regime change. The head of this group, OCCRP, actually brags of helping to change the governments in 4 or 5 different countries, actually brags of the regime change. So this looks like regime change tactics that the CIA and USAID had done abroad being brought back home against Donald Trump.
So why did we need that? And what did they do that was on top of what we already knew? The call happened. It was recorded. There's no question that Giuliani was mucking around over there and that Trump absolutely connected the relationship with Ukraine to what they could do to help Giuliani's efforts. So why did they need any OOCRP or whatever they're called? And what do you think they added to the stew?
I mean, I think the latter is not something that you have a consensus on in both parties, obviously. I mean, it was a partisan vote. It was Democrats. There's no Republicans that they got in the House.
100%.
The Senate obviously didn't hear it. And, Zelensky himself said he didn't feel pressured by Trump to go and dig up dirt on the Bidens. So that's just a matter of disagreement. It's I think if you look back retrospectively, it's a pretty thin case for impeachment. It's supposed to be high crimes and misdemeanors. So then you have to ask, well, where does it come from? And when you see that the two main organizations behind it are the CIA and USAID, which is basically considered a front-facing regime change organization for the U.S. government. CIA is covert, USAID is sort of the overt. For U.S. allies, it's propping up governments, it's doing work to support them. For countries that would get a change in government, we're trying to interfere politically to overthrow them. That's what we do. That's what our global policy has been. Look, I mean, so one possibility, and I don't know that this is the reason, I haven't heard from my sources, but I mean, look, you have an agency that was engaged in what appears to be domestic politics going all the way back to Trump's impeachment.
Right.
Could that have been one of the motives for why they decided that this was an organization that had to pay a very high price? I mean, it's really shutting down the whole organization.
Hey, thanks for watching.
So let me connect the dots for you. Because this is what they don't want you to understand. USAID created and funded an organization called the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. That organization produced the foundational research used to impeach Donald Trump. The same USAID that allegedly helped launder $200 million back to Biden's campaign. This is not coincidence, this is a pattern. A weaponized federal agency used your tax dollars to overthrow a president, then used your tax dollars to help his replacement's campaign. This is the deep state operating in plain sight. Now, thanks to DNI Tulsi Gabbard and the Trump administration, we finally have the receipts. Investigations are underway and criminal referrals to the FBI are expected. So what we're witnessing is the greatest exposure of government corruption in American history. President Trump promised to drain the swamp, and now we're seeing just how deep that swamp really goes. Ukrainian officials, USAID bureaucrats, and the intelligence community all working together to undermine American democracy. But here is the good news. They're caught. The declassified intercepts are now public. Congressional investigators are demanding answers, and Attorney General Pambandi's DOJ, the former Attorney General, is on the case. And this is why we do what we do here at the Next News Network. We bring you the truth they desperately want to hide. So share this video everywhere and drop a comment. And tell me, do you believe criminal charges should be filed against everyone involved in this scheme? Yes or no? And since you watched this entire video, here's a special gift from me to you. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. That's how you and I continue our connection. When YouTube fails to give you notifications, when the algorithm buries these videos, we will have an unbroken chain, so you will get the news you deserve. And don't forget to check out the Next News merch shelf below this video and show the world where you stand. I'm Gary Franchi. Stay informed and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.